YouTubers, my name is Seb. This is Seb's Supercar. I'm out for a drive on a beautiful fall weekend here in Ontario, Canada, in my Ferrari 360 Modena, and I just got a suspension travel warning indicator on my dash. So I'll be troubleshooting that in this video. So this is the warning indicator I got on my dash, which is basically the image of the car with arrows underneath the wheels. What this warning indicates is that there's an issue with the suspension. So problem with the shocks themselves, so either bottoming out or they're traveling vertically too much, or it could just be one of the sensors. When that warning shows up on the display, it stays on until the car is shut off, and then it resets. And so it's been intermittent. It only comes on after usually going over some railroad tracks or a bumpy patch of road, and then it sticks on until I shut off the car and start the cycle all over again. Ferrari 360 has active suspension, so it's controlled by an ECU. It takes input from 3 accelerometers, and they're located 2 in the front and 1 in the rear. And depending on the input, it'll actually change the ride. It'll stiffen up the ride or make it a lot more loose. So one of those sensors is faulty. It's actually changing the whole dynamic experience of the ride. So that rear sensor, it's a vertical acceleration sensor. Looking through Ferrari Chat and Aldous Voice website, it's prone to failure. The suspension system on the Ferrari 360 is actually quite reliable. So we're starting off with the most obvious place and the easiest to tackle. I ordered the sensor from Scuderia Parts. It's available at Ricambi as well as other European sites like Eurospares. It cost me about $200 US, 300 Canadian landed, and it's quite easy repair to get to. Because we're dealing with electronics, we're going to cut power from the battery, and it's very straightforward. There's a dial under the front. You always want to lower the windows before you open the front, and just turn the dial to disconnect the battery and power to the car. So the rear vertical position sensor is located right behind this cover. So the first thing we'll have to do is disconnect the strut and then remove just a few Allen screws that there are in order to get access to it. So the first thing we're going to do is just remove this spring clip from the strut. Once we pop this off, it's going to want to drop. Alright, so I'm just using a broom for added support. So now we just take out these screws using an Allen key. Okay, I've got all the screws out. There's a little foam damper right by the strut connector. You've just got to maneuver the cover from behind the body panel, being very careful. Just carefully remove like that. So with the cover off, we can see more clearly the location of the sensor. It's just right over here. And there's the wire and connector. It's quite easily accessible. And there's just 2 bolts holding it on, which we'll remove now. These are just 10mm nuts that I'll use my nut driver for. Being careful not to drop them. First, we're going to connect the sensor And then it slides onto a little holding bracket right over here. Right there. And now the sensor just mounts right there with the two bolts. I'm just going to tighten it with the nut driver. So now that I've got the sensor all connected, it's just a matter of putting the cover back on, everything in reverse order. Just being very careful not to scratch the car. Just gonna put the first few on by hand, finger tight. Make sure I locate all the bolts. Now I just reconnect the strut, put the rubber foam grommet there. Lift the panel, screw it in, take out my broom. And I'll put the spring clip back in. That's it. Now that it's all back together, all that's left to do is to close up, turn the battery power back on, and go for a test drive. So I've been driving now for just about an hour, and I haven't seen that suspension warning come up yet. So I think I'm good. This turned out to be one of the most straightforward projects for this car. Total time was about 30 minutes. I made the video because I couldn't find any other video content related to this particular part replacement and this issue. So I hope someone else benefits from this content. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel or hit the like button because it does help to support us and broaden our reach. And until next time, thanks for watching Seb's Supercar.